as a city network on holistic resilience, we have this definition of urban resilience as the capacity of individuals, communities, institutions, businesses, and system within a city to survive, adapt, and grow no matter what type of chronic stresses and acute shocks they experience. And that's why I started with this many shock and stresses to begin with this presentation. And with that, in theory, then cities can be more resilient, that the communities can be better prepared in the case of this shock and stresses, and at the end is also to help advance the SDGs. And I guess we'll hear from the other three speakers, but a couple of I guess reflection and question. I touch on the capacity previously, and a lot of and now like we want to engage citizens. We want to push for more community engagement, but I guess a couple of different things, like community is always there already, like it's not that they're not participating. In fact, I guess in many cities in Southeast Asia, communities are there the first time before the, I guess, the more involvement of the local government. So that's one thing. And then the second is that I think a lot of local government now try to push for, let's have a better collaboration. And actually we are testing that in Jakarta together with Kota Kita in one of the neighborhood, how to better bring communities, how to better bring non-state actors ranging from donors, from and other NGOs, from private sector, to help improve the situation in one sub-district in Jakarta, for example. I guess we need to be careful in and be strategic when we discuss about community and citizen participation. What's the most productive one? And I think we need to be careful on not making citizen participation as replacement of like local government mandates. So I think that's yes, we realize that there's a limited capacity in local government in the context of Southeast Asia, but I think that's one thing to that we need to really be careful, and I guess that will push more discussion towards how can we then understand what is collaboration, what is community participation, and then how can we, I guess, plan together the right balance of community participation while not letting go the I guess the responsibility of local government. And I think Pak Sugeng later will share, and I think that will be a good example. And the last thing is really just, yes, in advancing and resilience, in addressing all this more complex situation, we need to be in this together. But the how, let's think carefully, and then I guess we'll see the example from the other three speakers. And I guess I'll stop here and try to be short. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Nini, for the great presentation and for bringing the perspective and building resilience. I think I note several points here. First, as city is a complex system, and thank you for highlighting the importance of the capacity building for both city government and citizen to push forward collaboration in building resilience. And also, thank you for highlighting the needs of a more meaningful citizen participation in building resilience. I have some question in mind, but I will keep that for later. And this point you bring, I think, is a nice bridge to our next speaker, which is Mi Pham. The the Director of Center for Social Research and Development, CSRD, who will present her work with women groups in Central Vietnam to promote community and coastal ecosystem resilience. So she will bring a real case, an actual case on citizen-led initiative. Mi, the floor is yours.
Hi everyone, good morning from Vietnam, and thank you for having me today to share with you about our initiative at local level. We try to share with you about the women roles in community and coastal ecosystem resilience in central Vietnam. So here, as you may see, here is Huế City, but it contains both in the center of the province and also the coastal area in here. So located in the center of Vietnam and along the coastal line of Vietnam, it is a very vulnerable province to flood. So flood occurs twice or 2 or 3 times a year, and this is a really devastating disaster. It caused a huge damage on economic development as well as property of local people, and it also claims human lives every year. So here you can see some picture about the devastating flood events in 2020. So actually the high exposure of Huế City to flood re-emphasized in October 2020. And especially the most vulnerable groups in our city, I think is also commonly in Southeast Asia are women, because they are facing with some social norms, tradition, and some other disadvantages due to their role and position in the society. So they become more vulnerable in climate change context when the more extreme weather events happen more frequently. So they're also very important in terms of livelihood activity organizing in the community. They directly rely on the natural resources, so that's why they themselves and the livelihood activity really heavily affected by flood. So in here we try to highlight their important roles in terms of sustain the livelihood in the very close connection with natural resources or ecosystem services. So in last years, we conducted some local initiative, and we call it evidence-based initiatives, because we have been working for many years in DRM, disaster management and climate change adaptation. So we did a range of research activity, consultation meetings, as well as the dialogue or workshop or forums with community to know the local needs. So our initiative have been developed based on the evidence we collected from the field and from the people at grassroots level. So our focus is empowering women for community and coastal ecosystem resilience. So in order to work and facilitate initiative, we just connect the Women Union and Disaster Management Committee. So here, Women Union is the key group. We try to promote their role, and Disaster Management Committee is our government bodies who are in charge of disaster management in our province. So realize the bridge between two of these key actors in resilience enhancements. And in here we have in our view, when we empower women in disaster management, they will raise their voice we will enhance their roles, as well as they will contribute their experience, then they try and they will contribute to coastal community and ecosystem resilience. This means the climate change impact mitigation will be enhanced as well. So even we start with lower step, with the targeted group is women, but then community and our society will benefit from our initiative. And here are some pilot activity we have been conducting with our community. First, we organize the community activity like mangrove nursery and planting. As you may see from the picture here, here people are working on nursery sites. They are preparing for the ground and the nursery site. And here women are preparing the soil packs to put the seedling into these packs. And here a woman participating in planting mangroves. And during our project, we will create more than 12,000 seedlings. And from this nursery activity and planting mangroves, we will generate the revenue. And the income from this activity will contribute to the microcredit fund. And this fund will be used by community for their own livelihood activity and promote some sustainable livelihood model. And from the mangrove site, as well as the nursery site, we contribute to building the protected area in lagoon area. This is a very large brackish water area with very high biodiversity. And the second initiative is that we will organize the theater performance for capacity building and risk communication. There's a very good communication tools that can involve grassroots level group. And here we are planning to organize the theater performance with for risk communication with 10 coastal commune group. And we are expecting to reach at least 1,000 coastal residents. And this is the first time the Eco DRR Theater Festival organized in our province. We will organize an award ceremony to promote the image of women and their contribution into resilience. And next one, I would like to talk about the key lessons that we gain from our activity. So by doing the research and initiative, yes?
Can you wrap up in 1 or 2 minutes or so?
Okay, yeah. So we see the differences of gender in suffering and recovering from floods. And in terms of policy intervention, we need to engage women to address their needs as well as their growth and their contribution. And we need some community-based funds for disaster risk reduction, because we will create the independence of community in terms of the risk management. Leadership and ownership of community are very important as well, because they will sustain the achievement and results of intervention from outsider or from the projects. And the next one is natural-based solution is a promising way to engage women and community in climate change resilience. Also, we found that psychological factors are important for recovery from community aspects as well. And here, next step, we will conduct the evaluation. We want to see how the awareness raising works from our activity. We try to find out how the ecosystem can reduce the flood risks and how the ecosystem can bring income and livelihood to community, and how community and ecosystem have better resilience from our intervention. And also we will do the panel study on flood in climate change context to understand the psychological factors and try to understand how the mental health is really a problem with community in terms of recovering from floods and other disasters. So we have very primary results from our research that 3.6% of respondents show severe mental distress, and 26% of respondents show the moderate level of mental health distress after the disaster. So this could be our focus in the next step. So that is very brief results from our initiative. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mi, for the very great presentation. And it was wonderful work that you're doing with the women as the vulnerable group, but also as the agent of change. I think one point that I note from you is the economic benefit for the community is something that we need to consider and is equally important in building climate resilience. But our time is limited here. I would like to invite our third speaker to share his work in Cambodia on community mapping, housing improvement, and urban resilience project. Saran, I welcome Saran Seong, the Executive Director of STT Cambodia. Saran, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for thank Rika for well coordination and opportunity for us to share some of the lesson learned and good practice from the ground, especially the poor community that we are working with. So just to have a brief presentation about our organization, STT is an urban land and housing right NGO, and we mainly working with the urban poor community who are living in very poor condition, and the main challenge that they are facing a lot is the affordable housing and also infrastructure development. And on the top of that, they are facing so many other challenges, including environmental issues, especially on the waste management. So as I was asked to share about the community mapping, housing improvement, and urban resilience, I just would like to draw your attention about the key purpose of our project is to ensure that we have the participatory community mapping, and we also produce the small-scale upgrading, which involve a lot of stakeholders, including the local communities. And we also implementing the waste management practice. We also developing the alternative plan. This is very participatory ones, and everything would be designed and implemented by the community per se. We also include the social protection mechanism and rental housing. It's in poor community are facing a lot of affordable housing issue, and they need very good social protection from the government. So the community mapping, we actually using the participatory human rights based approach, which all the community members can identify the structure within their own community, and they also highlight some community resource that can be contributed to this kind of initiative. And every step we have to consult with the community members by using like meeting or consultation meeting. And we also have the finalizing step, which all the map which produced or drawn by the community members, they can discuss about the size of the household, the demographic issue and also a socio-economic characteristic, including the tenure security as well. And at the final step, our team will present the final data that collected by the community members to have the final discussion. And if there is any changes, we would be updated before printing out and finalization. So this is the pictures to about in our office, and this below pictures are at the community. So they have engaged actively in design on the map of the community. In terms of housing improvement, we have developed a guideline called Climate Smart Guideline, which is very practical one that the community can use it to build their or to improve their household by using some local materials, and very the cost is not very expensive. Mostly it's spent less than 2,000 to improve their household, and it have to cool down the heat at the house and to absorb more the fresh air from the surrounding environment. And actually the plan also, before it comes to the improving the household, they have to design some we call it the alternative plan, which is very participatory one that community members can draft the plan by themselves with the technical support from us. So it is every step that ICT working is to have the community participation at every step. And this is some example of the before and after the housing improvement. So they, just for your information, most of the urban poor community, they are living along the lake, along the river. So their tenure security is a little bit challenging. And so the household structure, the build is not really concrete, but after getting our support, they use some climate smart, resilient, climate smart idea by using some ideas so that it's better to have a better structure and getting a better environment in their community. In relation to the urban resilience, we actually developing some material just to raising awareness about the social protection, as well as the rental housing. As I mentioned earlier, urban poor community are facing a lot of rental issue as well as the affordable housing, and they are in need of social protection from the government.
Hi, Saran. Could you please wrap up in 1 or 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Sorry for being there.
So the best practice that the community members that we have been employed so far is we have been using the community-led development. That means we give the power to the community. We just support them financially and technical support. And they have their own evidence-based advocacy approach, like we just mentioned about the community mapping is one of the advocacy tool that has been used to advocate for their own land and housing right. Networking across the community members in Phnom Penh as of 2018, there are around 277 urban poor community in Phnom Penh. So they just build a network across the community members so that they have a strong network and voice so that the advocacy activity can have more power. This is some activity at the local ground, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Sarah. And it was a very wonderful presentation. And it's wonderful that you bring up the points on the importance of data and demonstrate how community engagement here can be seen as a way to not only bridge the data gaps and knowledge gap, but also as a way to raise awareness to the community in tackling the climate challenges with the climate smart principle in the housing improvement that you're doing. We're looking forward to the result later on in the other discussion probably. I think because time is limited again, I will invite the third speaker. Before, I haven't seen any question yet from the participants. So if you have questions, please leave your question in the chat box while we have it addressed later on after the presentation. So last speaker is Pak Sugeng Hartanto from the City Government of Semarang, the City Development Planning Agency, who will be sharing about the Green Musrenbang, the mechanism to promote citizen participation in the in building climate resilience. So, Pak Sugeng, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Sugeng. I'm working at a planning development planning board in Semarang. Thank you for having me, for sharing what we have done and what we will do to increase the participation of the community, especially to give the action to the climate effects. Okay. First of all, I would say that Semarang is a coastal city that one of the coastal city in Indonesia with exposure to coastal flooding and tidal flood, sea level, and also climate hazards. The numbers of the climate related disaster have been increasing significantly in the last few years. In the contrary, Semarang government have limited budget to handle this situation, so we have to use our limited budget effectively to maintain the quality of life, which is decreasing by climate effects. Sorry, I finish this problem with myself. Okay, this is Semarang. I said before, we suffering from the climate in many ways. So we have to tackle this climate hazard seriously because the effect of the climate is impacted mostly on the poor people in the coastal area. As the picture gives, we are shown in here, they are suffering from the flood, from the land subsidence, for example. So, but the other hand, communities experience the impact of climate change, but are not empowered to address the larger phenomena. So we have, as a government, we have to take this handle together with all the communities. So Semarang City Government has integrated city resilience framework that Nine has mentioned before. Thank you to 100 RC. So then we integrated it into the midterm development planning or RDGMP till 2026. It will become a frame for a development policy. We also have water as leverage or world platform, which is an integrated program that consists of 5 priority programs. One of them is Resilient Kampung, and effort to promoting community-based climate actions. Well, we have a regular participatory planning process at sub-district level, district level, and also city level called Musrenbang. Musrenbang is a forum for community and government to discuss and approving priority for the next year government activities and budget. We hear from the community what they want, we hear from the community what they need to tackle the climate actions, especially in their community. To encourage community to involve in emotional bank, Semarang city government has allocated some specific budget to accommodate a community priority which is contained in the mayor's decree. So we have already have to make participative budgeting process and climate hazards on the other side. The question will be, how can we encourage more participation and promote more like a climate action in the planning budgeting process? That will be our challenge. So we initiate integrated the concept of resilient kampung into existing participatory budgeting process. So we tap the community-based climate action into planning budgeting process in the mayor's decree on guideline of Muslim Bank. We encourage community to put adaptation and mitigation projects such as a early warning system, waste banks, community-based sanitation, infiltration wells, for example, and more parks onto their community priority using their specific budget that we have already allocated. So we try to optimize our specific budget for planning budgeting into implement adaptation and mitigation projects. It will be some challenges because, for example, for the community, what they need is just to building roads, to building the drainage, like etc. So we try to encourage people, community, to not just building roads, but please do propose some activities that are related to climate actions because it will affect them. Use our budget effectively, use our budget wisely. To use your needs, but please considering the climate action, climate effects that you already have, because if we just don't waste our budget, just use it wisely. So we then put it on the mayor decrees just for the legal form, so they can have action in related to it. So this is the result, some of the result from our budget. This is something that we continue to do. We on the next step we will trying to optimize the green Muslim bank process. So the effect will be, we hope, will be more effective to tackle this climate hazards in the next few years. I think that's all I can share, and we can maybe discuss later on the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pak Sugeng, for sharing the experience of the government of Semarang. And I think this is very wonderful where the city government here plays an important role in promoting more citizen participation in climate action. I think it's very good that the government recognize the importance of citizen participation here and trying to conceptualize and legalize in the city current framework of participatory budgeting. And I think it will bring more potential in the future to be replicated in other cities in Indonesia, because this is, I think, to my knowledge, this is one of the early initiative for that type of regulation. And yeah, all of the speakers already shared their presentation. I'm looking forward for the discussion. So if the participants have questions, please type it directly to the chat, or you can raise your hand if you want to share it directly with us in this direct discussion. But since there's no question yet from the participant, I think I would give my first question to Mbak Nini first. Because Manini, you are in the Resilient Cities Network, you work across countries in Southeast Asia, and you know the context of the local communities in Southeast Asia. So I think my question would be, what are the distinct characteristics of Southeast Asian cities and Southeast Asian communities that makes this citizen-focused approach a crucial effort in tackling climate crisis?
Thank you, Mbak Rizka. Maybe firstly, as a network, we are actually working closer more with the local government. So like with the colleagues of Pak Sugeng. So just to make sure that we're in the right context. But I guess so what we are working as a network is trying to encourage the local government to work towards more inclusive and integrated approach in their operational day-to-day of the municipality. So that's part of we have what we call as 7 resilience qualities, and that integrated and inclusivity are 2 of them. So that's the first context. I guess on your question regarding the characteristic of the Southeast Asia community, I guess we cannot say that one size fits all. Like it's very contextual, but from our experiences in like, for example, in Semarang, they're playing a big role, and it's not that like they're already trying to face the climate event, like as Pak Sugeng show in the picture. And I think a lot of the communities in this region has very big initiative, and then because sometimes, just being very honest, sorry Pak Sugeng and the government here, like because they need to rely on themselves, right? Like the example of waste bank, right, in many cities in Indonesia, that's to fill the gap of the lack of access to waste collection in cities. And I mentioned about the capacity. So I guess the character, we cannot say and we cannot like, oh, this is the type or character, but I think one of them is a lot of initiative, because they're in the front line, they're in the ground, they need to do something to face the situation in their neighborhood. So often it's to fill the gap. So I think that's why I mentioned in the beginning that we need to be aware of all this complexity and who plays the role, and then have a healthier collaboration and participation. And I think what Pak Sugeng share, I think that's a good example of the right balance, and I hope to see more of that, and that the community is not as replacement of this gap that we have in cities. I hope that's quite clear.
Yes, thank you. I think it's important that you bring up the point of complexity of community and stakeholder, because different place might have different type of complexity. The character are also different. I think on that point, I would like to ask your experience, me and Saran in Vietnam and Cambodia, and how, like what are the challenges that you face in implementing this initiative that you're doing right now from your experience, and how would you ensure the buy-in from the community? How would you work together with them, and is there any resistance from the community during the process, and how you dealt with that? I think I would invite me first for this to answer this.
Yeah, thank you for your question. Actually, about our experience, we missed some challenges when working with community to promote the initiative. The first one is that about the awareness, because actually to some community, climate change is still something not easy to understand, because we in here we try to provide them with scientific knowledge about climate change, but that's not easy to understand. So that's why we have to translate some scientific knowledge into local knowledge and try to connect the scientific knowledge and local knowledge. So actually, local people, they are rich of local knowledge and experience in terms of the change of climate and weather pattern, but they may not know how to define it as climate change. So when we build up the awareness and provide them with knowledge, it becomes easier to use their knowledge and to promote the local initiative. So that is very important first step. And then the second challenge is that when they have initiative, how can we make it sustainable? Because actually for community at grassroots level, they still lack of resources to maintain the result and the enabling environment to maintain the result. How they can integrate their initiative into policy framework to keep it run for long term. So second main challenge is we are trying to address it with the community and also local authorities. Yeah, thanks.
Great. We share the same challenges here in Indonesia, actually, about the awareness of the community on the climate issue, as well as the maintaining the sustainability in the long run. Saran, what about you? With the same question.
Yeah, actually, we somehow share similar challenges, but just would like to add up something like, of course, the level of the knowledge of the people regarding the matter of the concern. I mean, like the climate change or urban resilience is still limited. So they know very little about the issue. While the political issue situation, I mean, the local government are not very independent. So somehow the decision is not made at the local level. So the political situation or the political issue is still the matter to implement the citizen focused climate action. Plus the economic power. I mean, in poor community, we can say that they are facing a lot of economic issue. They just earn daily and somehow they cannot have enough food to eat. So this is really challenging for them. And in terms of addressing the barrier of participation, STT is one of the organizations who are working to raising awareness about not only the urban issue, but also the urban resilience. And we also provide some capacity building and technical support to help the poor community to understand and to build, like I mentioned previously about the applying the climate smart guideline or design, so that it is more affordable and environmentally friendly for them. The waste management also included in our capacity building program. So in terms of participation, it is suggested that all affected community should be involved in every stages, so that their real and practical needs are included and applied into the whether it is local level or policy level. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for the point. I think it's very important to involve the community since the early phase to make sure that like they're involved since the beginning. The problem is addressed very well since and adjusting their needs and challenges. And I think I want to be inclusive here. I will ask Pak Sugeng one question, probably the last question, looking at the time. Pak Sugeng, we know that from the case that you share, the implementation of the Green Musrembang is quite early at this stage. And what are the foreseen opportunities and challenges that you see in implementing the future of the green participatory budgeting, and how would you see the reception of the community? And if there are foreseen challenges, how will you anticipate that?
Okay, thank you for the questions. As I mentioned earlier, and also speakers, other speakers mentioned before. The main challenge is how to make people aware about this climate situations. So we, for example, we in the Semarang City, as I mentioned before, we already give some specific budget for the community to help their neighborhood. But they usually propose that something that directly involve them in a short term for the climate action that maybe is not giving their direct impact. Use they usually not to take other proposal. So as I mentioned before on my presentation, so the city of Semarang give the mayor's decree that will be the guidelines for the community to encourage them to propose some green initiatives. So for the next year, for the next steps, we will try to more encourage this by giving more budget for the more green initiatives. So give us more green initiatives, and we will give you more budget to handle to increase your community quality of life, for example. Thank you, Mabi. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Sugeng, for that. I think we have time for one more question. I think I would like to ask me the same question. I think Saran already answered this question partly, but me, how would you ensure the inclusivity of the, during the implementation of your project? How you make sure like all of the community members can participate in this program?
Yeah, actually, we have been working with community for 10 years with different groups of community and with different community from different parts of our country. So inclusive approach is like something we apply through all the projects. We always consider the identity of each community groups and try to find appropriate way to get them involved. For example, when we're working with the women, we need to consider their working times or their workload. Then we can set up the meeting even during the night time, or we need to do the meeting halls where children can play around. So actually, we need to use the gender lens and the identity lens to find the best ways to work with community. And also on the staff need to have like skills in working with community, and sometimes we try to use the key person or focal point who get closer with community, who can support us to work with them in an effective way. Also, during the time we work with community, we also get involved local authorities. So actually, we try to maintain our achievement when local authority involved, and we also try to make the local authority understand better community as well. So that is the way we have like connection, but also exchange the working skills as well as the working methods among the stakeholders. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Me, for the last point. I think that would be my last question because time is limited here. I would love to continue discussing with you guys because this case was were amazing, but unfortunately time is limited. To wrap up the session, I think I would like to invite each of you to give one or two sentences of final remarks or call to action to the audience. I think I will start with Saran first. Please give a short remarks, final remarks from you.
I just would like to thank for the opportunity, and it is important to have the local community to take the opportunity to present their voice at any level, so that their own challenges can be addressed and heard by the public. That I just want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Saran. Next, I think I would ask Pak Sugeng.
Okay. I think we have to encourage community to initiate more adaptation and mitigation projects. So we have to guarantee that those initiatives will be implemented, not just a planning. So that will be government roles to encourage this and to facilitate it by providing some specific budget, for example, in the Semarang city context. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak. I think next would be Mbak Nini.
Thank you, Mbak Rizka. I guess my last sentences will be, let's acknowledge this community role, and then the second will be, let's see the community as equal partner, not beneficiaries, so that they're, like as Saran said, the voice in there. Yeah.
Wonderful. And one last thought as we close out, me.
Yeah, so my message is that nature-based solution is a resilience approach working well at the grassroots level. It is also proved to be a promising and inclusive means to empower women in disaster risk reduction. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share our experience and initiative.
Well, thank you very much for all the speakers for sharing your thought and wonderful experiences. Thank you for Resilient Cities Network, Bapeda Semarang, STT Cambodia, and CSRD Vietnam for sharing your experience. We have learned a lot today from each other, from the experience you shared, and it's good to know that we're not alone, and there is a very strong community of practice here today, and this was a very insightful discussion. Great thank you to all of you for joining us today, and from our side, it was a pleasure to host the discussion. We look forward to seeing you all again in other discussion, and let's continue collaborating to build more resilient city. On behalf of the organizer, thank you and have a good day, have a good evening, or wherever you are in the world. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.